Back Alley Boondocks posted originally on the Archive of Our Own. Rating: Teen and Up Audiences. Archive warning. No archive warnings apply. Category: Gen Fandom. The Spectacular Spider-Man, Cartoon, Spider-Man, All Media Types. Additional tags: Identity Reveal, Blood and Injury, Villains being friends, OOC, Please Don't Hate Me, No Beta Reader, We Die Like Parker's Relatives, Blanket Permission. Back Alley Boondocks by Hermes Serpent. Summary: Montana is a professional. And professionals don't kill kids. But he had no idea that Spider-Man was a child. What is a man supposed to do when he finds out that he has been fighting a child this whole time and finds said child knocked out and injured in an alleyway? Montana's not sure what the correct answer is, but he'll have to figure it out to get through this mess. Chapter 1. Jackson to Montana. Bryce is a simple man. He gets hired, he does his job, and fulfills his responsibilities. A little rush from fighting and cash to cover his needs are all he needs in his life. He did miss the country but had adapted to city life, with all its wiring churning noise. Montana steps onto the crosswalk as the walk sign flickers to the white lights of the walking stickman. He breathes in the cold, smoggy air of New York, eyes flickering upwards at the buildings out of habit. It used to be for hunting, then for searching for snipers, then for Spider-Man. The web-swinging twerp. Nothing. That suits him just fine. He keeps walking, tugging on his collar a little to cut the chill as he thinks about all the things he needs to pick up from the store. A few of the other Sinister Six, and the enforcers, had taken to popping by his place whenever they happened to be out of prison, and it had really put a dent in his pantry. Especially in the snack department. Quentin especially liked coming by and eating all of his cheese sticks and moon pies, snacking on them as he forced Montana to watch different recordings of foundational Broadway shows. Montana sighs in fake aggravation. Honestly, he did not hate the shows half as much as he had been expecting, given his general distaste for musicals growing up. Maybe it's the company. Fancy Dan, Ox, O'Hearn, and Flint had also managed to get roped into watching several of the shows with him. Which reminds him. He ought to grab some more jerky, milk, and kettle corn. And maybe some of that fancy tea that Dan and Quentin seem to have in a cup every time he turns around. What was the name of it again? Montana's mind wanders a bit as moves through the store, picking up the different items that he needs. He wonders if someone is going to break into his apartment today. Who is out of prison right now? Dan and Ox are out, but probably not going to show up. O'Hearn had just gotten busted and is cooling his heels behind bars right now. That leaves Flint and Quentin. Sure, other Sinister Six members always had the chance of appearing in his apartment. They had not so far. But the possibility always exists. Montana wraps up his shopping trip, holding on to his groceries as he steps back out onto the street. Home is not too far away, just about a block and a half. Which is nice, since it meant he never had to sit on the subway with his groceries. He keeps walking, letting thoughts roll over him as he walks through the cold city. He suddenly hears an odd noise from an alley, odd enough to cut through the typical bustling street noises. No one else seems to have heard the gasping hiss from the alley. Or maybe they were ignoring it. Montana's eyes are drawn to the alley nearby and he spots a way too familiar shade of red with the slightest hint of blue. Spider-Man. Seems like the man is finally down. Montana considers not stopping. He's out of costume and has groceries. But, if this is a chance to be rid of the wise-cracking wall crawler, he should take it. With his mind made up, he ducks into the alley to get a better look. Spider-Man looks awful. Multiple parts of his suit are charred, ripped, and stained with blood. His mask is partially torn off, and his eyes seem closed underneath. This gives Montana pause. He reaches forward and removes the rest of the mask. Spider-Man is definitely not living up to part of his title, Montana thinks almost hysterically. This is a child. Maybe a teen. But definitely too young to be on Montana's kill list. He was a professional, damn it. He did not hunt down children and murder them in their sleep. And he certainly did not leave them in back alleys to bleed out. No matter how annoying they are. He checks for a pulse and breathing, glad to find both. He might be driven to panic if the kid was dead. Now is not the time to think about that. Montana grumbles to himself as he pulls off his coat. Who let a child swing around and fight megalomaniacs like Dr. Octopus? How many times had he sworn to kill this kid, after he tried to crush him in that pile of garbage? How much trauma had he given a child? Montana's mental freakout does not affect his movements. He quickly wraps the kid up in his coat, hiding all of the spider outfits that he can. It would not do for the kid to get outed walking down the street. The boots present a problem that Montana solves by slipping them off and hiding them in his grocery bags. He then hefts up the kid, noting how little weight there is. Damn. Is no one feeding this little guy? If Shocker had not fought him so much, he would be tempted to say a stiff breeze might be able to knock the kid down. He makes sure he has all of his groceries and starts walking. He would patch the kid up and then figure things out from there. Would he tell anyone else about this? He would not. Out of respect for the child who had laid him out more than once and a bit of professional courtesy. Montana keeps walking. No one bothers him all the way back to his apartment. New York. What a town. When he gets inside, he quickly deposits the grocery bags in the kitchen and hauls the child into the bathroom. He gently starts removing layers. The kid jerks and hisses as blood-soaked clothes are pulled away from the skin that is sticking underneath. Brown eyes flash open and Montana does his best to be reassuring, using the same calming words and tone he used for upset horses. Easy, easy. Just getting this off so you don't get infected. And no hose. No hospitals. Don't worry. I ain't gonna take you to no hospital. Breathe. The kid's eyes stay unfocused and then slip shut. Montana keeps working, cleaning the kid up the best he can before applying antiseptic and bandages. He would have considered stitches, but some of the kid's wounds are already sealing up. Montana settles for wrapping the kid in a whole lot of bandages. He then grabs some spare clothes, a sweater from Quentin, and a pair of sweatpants and gently eases the kid into both. Fortunately, the kid does not wake up. He might have a concussion, but Montana is not too sure he wants an awake spider kid jumping around his apartment injured. He leaves the web things on the kid's wrists, knowing how scary it is to wake up in an unknown place unarmed. Just as he is shifting the kid into his bed, he hears someone enter his home. Oh. Great. Chapter 2. Montana finishes tucking the kid in and makes sure to close the door behind him. He finds Quentin in his kitchen, messing with the bags of groceries, which had Spider Kid's boots in them. He hurries over and picks up that bag and heads back to the bathroom. Quentin gives him a miffed look as he passes. What? No hello? The offended tone is slight and Montana responds in kind as he quickly hides away all the bits of Spider-Man's suit in a box under the sink. Yeah. Hello. I suppose even people who invite themselves in without Callan ahead deserve a welcome. Indeed. I don't appreciate your sarcasm. I am helping you clean up. Can't imagine what caused you to leave cheese and milk out of the fridge. Quentin says with a huff. Ever consider that it ain't none of your concern? Montana asks as he re-enters the kitchen. Quentin huffs again, throwing his hands up. Rude. All right. Thank you for putting the milk away. You are welcome. Quentin responds and then pulls a DVD case out from somewhere with a flourish. Montana blinks at a hard copy of a Broadway production of Mean Girls. Ah heck, Quentin, I can't tonight. Why not? I thought you were over your whole hating musicals thing. The other man pouts. Montana sighs, rubbing at the bridge of his nose. How to convince the other man to leave without revealing the kid in the other room? I'm busy. With what? And then there is a dull thud. Crud. Kid must have tried to get up. Quentin looks beyond Montana with interested eyes and moves to step forward. You stay here. I mean it. He says to Quentin in a half-hearted attempt to maintain control. But he knows that the other man probably would not listen to him. Montana's not foolish enough to hold tightly to that hope. He enters his bedroom and finds the kid out of bed and clinging to the corner of the ceiling. His eyes are huge and wild, and a touch feverish. Hey, kid. Hey. It's all right. I'm not gonna hurt you. Take a breath. Montana holds out his hands, to show that they are empty. The kid winces with his every word. Some type of advanced hearing? A bad headache? Montana lowers his voice as he inches closer. You were pretty banged up. How's about you come down here and I get you some water and Tylenol? He gets a hiss in reply as the kid curls into himself. And then there is a gasp from the doorway. Montana turns and glares at Quentin. Not a word. He harshly whispers, letting a threatening tone sharpen his airy words. Quentin looks startled both at the wall-crawling teen and the threatening glare Montana is shooting his way. Montana turns back around to face the kid. Come on. That can't feel too good on your ribs. You're going to KKO me. The kid mumbles out, wincing at his own words. Definitely audio problems. Montana stays still. Hands out. Nah. I don't kill kids. And if I wanted to kill you, giving up my favorite sweater to you would have been the last thing I did. The kid blinks and looks down at himself. Probably had not noticed it in his fear at being in a strange place. I even left your webby things on you. Disarming opponents tends to be the smarter option. The kid slowly relaxes, seeming to believe him for now. A few moments pass. So what do you want? The kid replies in a whisper, just barely loud enough for Montana to catch. I want you to recover a little. Maybe sleep and take some meds. And Beck? I'll handle Beck. I don't need handling. Quentin chimes in softly and Montana half turns to him again. The man apparently had left and returned in the time that Montana had been focusing on the kid. The illusionist is holding a glass of water and a bottle of pills. So Quentin was willing to help. That is a relief. The kid takes another second and then slowly moves off the wall. It is still wild to see a human move across a vertical surface like a bug. The kid slowly approaches and Quentin moves forward to pass off the glass of water and pills. The kid struggles with the cap for a second and Montana gently takes it back and twists off the lid. After the kid takes 4 pills and then swallows all the water in one chug. He slumps forwards and Montana catches him, trying to ignore the flinch. The kid still seems out of it. Easy now. Let's get you back into that bed. Up you get, come on. Montana pulls the kid closer to himself and picks him up. He shifts Spider-Man back onto the bed and tucks him in. Sleep, kid. I'll check on you in a bit. The kid gives him one last glassy look, blinking slowly before he falls back asleep. Shoot. The kid looks that much younger, tucked in and snoozing. He ushers Quentin out of the room, shutting the door gently behind himself. So, Spider-Man is a child. Quentin says speculatively. Montana takes a step forward, getting into Quentin's personal space. You breathe a word of this and I'll decorate the town with your blood. I don't kill kids and I don't pull their families into this. I don't care how much he's ticked you off. This secret stays here. Quentin puts his hands up and gently pushes Montana back. I'm not going to rat you out, Montana. And I'll hold off on snitching on a 12-year-old. But if this was your reason for being busy, then I'd say you have time to watch Mean Girls. Montana sighs. No. You'll sing all the way through it and we need to keep it down. What about Legally Blonde, the original movie version? Quentin lights up and Montana knows the compromise has been accepted. The illusionist grabs some snacks from the kitchen, including the cheese sticks, while Montana sets up the movie. He turns it on with subtitles and a low volume and settles onto the couch where Quentin joins him. He actually does not mind this movie either, despite initial reservations the first time Quentin had played it for him. They settle in. Then Quentin speaks up again. That sweater I gave you is your favorite? Dang it. Why did Quentin have to overhear that? Chapter 3. Peter feels dizzy when he wakes up again. He had started with a fierce headache and a bit of a fever. He could not afford to miss more school, so he had headed out. The day had been pretty blurry from there. On the way home, he ended up handling a burning building and then immediately dealing with the vulture, which had been the worst. He had fallen several times. And then... Oh no. Montana, the shocker, had found him and seen his face. But, even as his hazy brain reaches back, his spider sense remains calm. He feels bandages pressing against his oversensitive skin, along with soft cloth. Normally his costume would pull and itch against his skin when he feels this bad. But he pushes the blankets off and looks down. Ah, that explains it. He is wearing sweatpants and an odd-looking sweater with the words, "Be rootin', be tootin', be shootin', but most of all be kind." He blinks. Right. The little cowboy hats woven around the words really completed the look. He shuffles out of the bed, head hurting a bit. He cannot remember much, just fear. He peeks out of the room and spots two of his villains sitting on the couch. Montana had seemed rather adamant about not killing him. Could he trust that? His spidey sense seemed to think so. Peter takes a half step forward. Wait, are they watching Legally Blonde? He loves that movie. He takes another step forward and Montana turns his way. The villain stands up slowly, moves clear and non-threatening. Need something, kid? Peter feels his tongue stick to the roof of his mouth. Speak. Come on, Parker, get yourself together. He regularly went toe-to-toe with some of the strongest people in New York. But he feels scared now. He probably could do with some more water. Beck chimes in from his place on the couch. Peter numbly nods and finds his voice. And Tylenol. You already took 4, I don't want to rip a hole in your stomach lining, kid. Fast metabolism. Peter would have fought him on the kid thing, but he already feels wobbly again. Ah, okay. Take a seat, kid, you look dead on your feet. Montana pushes him into the only recliner and Peter settles. The movie is still playing, he absently notices. As he sits, his senses flicker across his consciousness. He can hear the movement and breath of both of the villains in the apartment and some of the city beyond the walls. The lights are off, with the only light in the living room coming from the TV and a small lamp in the corner. It does not hurt his eyes, which is nice. The air smells vaguely like what Peter would expect from a cowboy's house. Oddly earthy and warm for a room in the heart of a bustling city. But it is comforting and lulling in its own way. When he gets the pills and water, Peter quickly takes them. Beck passes him a cheese stick and Peter chews down, curling into the chair. The two villains share looks and then Montana turns back to Peter. You're welcome to sit in here with us while we watch the movie, or I can help you get back to bed. I'd like to stay. I like this movie. Who doesn't? Beck chimes in, sprawling across the couch. Montana pushes him a little to make room for himself. Beck moves a little, while still looking at Peter. Wait, would you be interested in watching Mean Girls, the musical version? Montana huffs as Peter slowly nods. You're killin' me, kid. You know he's gonna sing the whole time, right? I went to see that show, but Rhino and Sandman started messing up downtown about halfway through. Peter says, giving a small pout. Montana gives in. Fine. We can watch it after this. But if it starts giving you a headache, from this fool's singing, too loud or from being too exciting, I'm gonna put the kibosh on the whole thing. Come on, Montana, stop living in denial. You love the theater. I really don't. Especially since one fell on me. Beck rolls his eyes, dramatically throwing himself backward once more to sprawl across the corner of the couch. One bad incident with the stage and you let it cloud your love for music. Ain't nothin' clouded. Not everyone loves drama like you do, Quentin. Peter hides a laugh in his hands as he watches their interaction. It is definitely a softer side he does not see when fighting them. A lot more human. Almost makes him feel bad for tossing them into prison. When they get to Mean Girls, Peter finds himself hiding his face again as he holds back giggles at Beck's enthusiastic singing and Montana's half-hearted attempts to get him to stop. Peter finds himself fading off into sleep during the third film of the night. He curls a little more into himself, finding peace in the warmth and the earthy smells. He nuzzles into the sweater, drawing it up over his nose as his eyes flutter shut. Montana wakes the kid back up as it starts to get dark outside. Come on, wake up. Your folks are probably waitin' for you. Peter. The kid slurs slightly. I'm not a kid. Peter. Alrighty then, Peter. You still should get up. You look a lot better than you did when you went to sleep. I don't want a manhunt out for you. Okay. Peter slowly stands up and he gives the kid a pair of old shoes that are too big and the box with all of his Spider-Man gear. The kid looks soft, hair sticking out in multiple directions. It is hard to believe this is the same person he had seen hold up a car. The kid glances over at Quentin, who is snoring. Montana had tossed a blanket over Quentin earlier after Quentin had complained that Montana was treating Peter better than him. He had only tucked the blanket in after the illusionist had fallen asleep. Curse his own softness. Will you be able to get home all right? Need any money for a fare? No, I'll be all right. Thanks, Montana. I'll get your favorite sweater back to you. The kid teases and Montana rolls his eyes and gently, very gently ruffles the kid's hair. Get out off here, rascal. None of this means I'll go easy on you later. A lie. A very large lie. He would never come so close to killing Spider-Man again. And the kid seems to sense this as he waves and shuffles out the door. Gosh, Montana hopes the kid does not show back up when other villains are at his place. That would be hard to explain. Chapter end notes. Which of course means I think that it would be really funny if that happened and could definitely be convinced to write it, LOL. Thank you so much for reading. I really had fun writing this. Edit, October 5th 22 blanket permission. For remixes, podcast, video, inspired stories, whatever, and art for this story. Just in case anyone wanted to do something like that but is too nervous to ask. I love to see other people's creations, so if you'd like to tag me, feel free. Herma Serpent stuff on Tumblr, smiley face.